The empire that never lost. 164 victories. That number echoed across the galaxy like a sacred prayer. For nearly 3,000 years, the mighty Zovak's dominion had never known defeat. Planet after planet had fallen beneath their war fleets. Entire civilizations surrendered the moment the black and gold banners of the dominion appeared in orbit. The Zovaks believed they were destiny itself. Every military academy taught the same lesson. Resistance is irrational. The dominion always wins. And history seemed to agree. Their enemies had included warrior species, machine empires, hive minds, and ancient star kingdoms. None survived. By the year 7821 of the galactic calendar, the Dominion ruled almost half the known galaxy. Then they discovered Earth. At first, nobody cared. The planet sat on the edge of explored space, orbiting an ordinary yellow star. Primitive. Insignificant. Harmless. The first survey reports described humans as divided into hundreds of nations. They argued with each other, competed against each other, and lacked any unified planetary government. To the Dominion, the humans looked weak. Pathetically weak. When Supreme Commander Vakon reviewed the reports, he laughed. A species that still argues over borders. They won't survive a single day. The council chamber erupted with amusement. Another easy conquest. Another number added to their perfect record. Victory 165. That was what everyone expected. No one imagined they were about to witness the greatest disaster in Dominion history. Far away on Earth, humanity had no idea they were being discussed inside alien war councils. Life continued normally. People worked jobs. Children attended school. Scientists conducted research. Farmers harvested crops. The world looked peaceful. But beneath that peaceful appearance existed something outsiders could never understand. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't technology. It wasn't weapons. It wasn't numbers. It was adaptability. Throughout history, humans had survived ice ages, pandemics, world wars, natural disasters, and countless crises. Every challenge made them stronger. Every mistake became a lesson. Every defeat became preparation for future victory. Humans weren't the strongest species. They were the species that refused to stay down. Unfortunately for the Dominion, they would learn this lesson too late. 3 months later, the invasion fleet arrived. The sky above Earth changed overnight. Millions looked upward in shock. Gigantic alien warships emerged from hyperspace. Their shadows covered entire continents. News channels interrupted broadcasts. Governments declared emergencies. Military forces worldwide entered maximum alert. Panic spread rapidly. For the first time in human history, humanity faced an enemy from another world. The Dominion transmitted a single message. It appeared on every screen, every device, every communication network on Earth. The image showed Supreme Commander Vakon seated upon a massive golden throne. His expression carried absolute confidence. The confidence of a man who had never failed. People of Earth, he announced. You have been chosen to join the Zovak's dominion. His voice echoed across the planet. Surrender immediately and your species will survive. Resist and you will be erased from existence. The transmission ended. Silence followed. Across Earth, leaders gathered in emergency meetings. Scientists analyzed alien technology. Military commanders prepared defenses. Ordinary citizens watched nervously. The Dominion expected fear. They expected surrender. Instead, something unexpected happened. Humanity began talking. Not about surrender. About fighting. Social media exploded with discussions. Engineers volunteered ideas. Scientists shared research. Former rivals exchanged information. Countries that had spent decades competing suddenly started cooperating. For the first time in modern history, humanity faced a common enemy. And humanity's response was simple. If Earth was going down, it was going down swinging. Commander Vakon watched Earth's reactions with amusement. "They are preparing defenses," one officer reported. The bridge crew laughed. "Defenses? Against the Dominion? Ridiculous." Vakon smiled. "Let them try." He gazed at the blue planet below. In his mind, the campaign was already over. Victory number 165 was inevitable. He couldn't know that somewhere on Earth, scientists had already noticed something strange about Dominion technology. Something dangerous. Something that could change everything. And within months, the undefeated empire would discover a terrifying truth. Humans didn't fight like anyone else. Humans fought to win. No matter the cost. No matter the odds. No matter who stood against them. The first battle for Earth was about to begin. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The battle nobody expected. The invasion began exactly 72 hours after the Dominion's ultimatum expired. Supreme Commander Vakon stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest, watching Earth rotate beneath him. The blue planet looked calm. Peaceful. Unprepared. Perfect. Launch the first wave, Vakon ordered. Thousands of assault craft immediately separated from the massive fleet. Like a dark storm descending from heaven, they plunged toward Earth. Dominion officers watched confidently. This was routine. Every conquest followed the same pattern. Overwhelm defenses. Destroy military infrastructure. Force surrender. Move on. Simple. Efficient. Unstoppable. But Earth was already waiting. The moment alien ships entered the atmosphere, warning systems around the world activated. Military bases from America to China. From India to Europe. From Africa to Australia. Every radar station lit up simultaneously. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't fighting itself. It was fighting together. And that changed everything. Target lock confirmed. Missiles armed. Launch authorization granted. Within seconds, thousands of missiles erupted from hidden launch sites across the planet. The sky turned white. Trails of fire raced upward toward the incoming invaders. The Dominion pilots laughed. Primitive missiles. Seriously? Their shields could withstand plasma cannons capable of destroying cities. Human weapons were irrelevant. The first explosions confirmed their confidence. Missiles detonated harmlessly against energy barriers. Not a single Dominion ship was damaged. Cheers erupted across the alien fleet. Just as expected, Vakon said. Then the impossible happened. A Dominion destroyer suddenly lost power. Its engines flickered. Its shields vanished. Moments later, the vessel exploded. Silence filled the bridge. What happened? Vakon demanded. Officers scrambled to investigate. Another destroyer failed. Then another. Then 5 more. The celebration stopped immediately. Confusion spread across the fleet. None of the destroyed ships showed signs of weapon damage. Something else was happening. Something wrong. Back on Earth, inside a heavily protected research facility, the scientists watched the results with excitement. Months earlier, they had discovered an unusual flaw in Dominion technology. The alien ships relied on quantum synchronization networks to coordinate power systems. Efficient. Advanced. Brilliant. And vulnerable. Human researchers had spent weeks developing specialized electromagnetic pulses designed specifically to disrupt that synchronization. The missiles weren't carrying explosives. They were carrying disruption devices. The first wave had been a test. And the test had succeeded. Far beyond expectations. Professor Elena Carter stared at the incoming data. They're losing system cohesion. Military officials looked stunned. You're telling me their own technology is destroying them? Elena nodded. We're not overpowering them. A small smile appeared on her face. We are confusing them. Across orbit, the chaos spread rapidly. Dominion commanders couldn't understand what was happening. Their technology had never failed before. Never. Thousands of battles. Hundreds of worlds. Perfect reliability. Now systems were malfunctioning everywhere. The fleet's coordination network began collapsing. Ships drifted out of formation. Weapons refused commands. Targeting computers generated errors. For the first time in Dominion history, fear entered the minds of its soldiers. Meanwhile, humanity accelerated its attack. Submarines launched additional disruption missiles. Stealth aircraft delivered new payloads. Satellites activated experimental systems developed in secret laboratories. Every nation contributed something. Every scientist shared discoveries. Every engineer worked around the clock. Humanity had become a single team. And the Dominion had never faced anything like it. Commander Vakon watched another cruiser explode. His confidence began cracking. Retreat the first wave, he ordered. The bridge crew froze. Retreat? The Dominion never retreated. Not once in 3,000 years. But reality was impossible to ignore. Nearly 400 ships had already been lost. Not to superior firepower. Not to advanced technology. But to creativity. To adaptation. To human unpredictability. As the surviving vessels pulled back, Earth's population celebrated. Cities erupted with cheers. People flooded streets. For the first time since the invasion began, hope appeared. Humanity wasn't winning. Not yet. But it wasn't losing either. And that terrified the Dominion. Deep within the flagship, Vakon entered a secure war room. Only his highest-ranking officers were present. The atmosphere was tense. Nobody spoke. Finally, an intelligence officer broke the silence. Commander, we've analyzed human history. Vakon looked up. What about it? The officer swallowed nervously. Humans have spent thousands of years fighting each other. That's obvious. Yes, sir. But the concerning part is that every conflict made them better. The room became silent again. The officer continued. They adapt faster than any species we've studied. Vakon stared at the holographic image of Earth. For the first time, he wasn't looking at prey. He was looking at a threat. A species unlike any the Dominion had encountered. A species that learned while fighting. A species growing stronger with every battle. And while Earth celebrated its first victory, humanity's scientists uncovered something even more shocking hidden inside captured Dominion technology. A secret so dangerous. It could destroy the entire Dominion forever. The secret behind 164 victories. For 3 days, the galaxy watched in disbelief. News of the failed invasion spread faster than light. The Zovak's Dominion had never lost a battle. Yet Earth had survived. Not only survived, but struck back. Across hundreds of star systems, alien civilizations secretly celebrated. Many had suffered under Dominion rule for generations. For the first time in thousands of years, hope had appeared. But on Earth, nobody was celebrating for long. Scientists knew something important. The Dominion had only sent a fraction of its military. The real war hadn't even started. Deep inside an underground research complex beneath the Swiss Alps, teams worked around the clock examining captured alien technology. Every circuit. Every processor. Every data core. Nothing was ignored. Then they found it. A discovery so shocking that the entire room fell silent. Professor Elena Carter stared at the holographic data in disbelief. No way. An intelligence officer looked over her shoulder. What is it? Elena slowly turned toward him. The Dominion isn't as strong as everyone thinks. The room froze. What do you mean? She enlarged the recovered files. Thousands of military records appeared. Battle reports. Conquest logs. Strategic analysis. And a hidden truth. For centuries, the Dominion had manipulated history. Many of their famous victories weren't victories at all. They had relied heavily on psychological warfare, misinformation, sabotage, and intimidation. Entire civilizations surrendered before major battles even began. The legend of Dominion invincibility had become their greatest weapon. People believed they couldn't lose. So nobody truly fought them. The room remained silent. An old general finally spoke. They've been winning because everyone thinks they'll win. Exactly, Elena replied. The realization hit everyone at once. The Dominion wasn't undefeatable. It was terrifying. And terrified enemies make mistakes. The greatest empire in the galaxy had built its reputation on fear. Humanity had accidentally done something no one else dared. They challenged the myth. And once a myth cracks, it starts falling apart. Meanwhile, aboard the flagship Eternal Conquest, Commander Vakon received terrible news. Reports flooded in from every corner of Dominion territory. Several border worlds were revolting. Colonies were demanding independence. Resistance groups had become active. Even loyal systems were questioning Dominion authority. All because of Earth. One small planet. One insignificant species. One embarrassing defeat. Vakon smashed a control console in rage. This is impossible. But it wasn't impossible. Fear was changing sides. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy wasn't afraid of the Dominion. The Dominion was afraid of losing. Then came even worse news. Human engineers had successfully reverse-engineered parts of alien technology. Months of non-stop research produced an unbelievable breakthrough. Human scientists developed a prototype hyperspace drive. A primitive version compared to Dominion technology. But it worked. The implications were staggering. Earth was no longer trapped. Humanity could now leave its solar system. The species that had barely entered space was suddenly preparing for interstellar operations. And humans moved fast. Very fast. Within weeks, factories around the world converted to wartime production. Civilian industries became military industries. Automobile plants built spacecraft components. Electronics companies produced navigation systems. Universities became research centers. Millions volunteered. Nobody ordered them. Nobody forced them. They simply understood what was at stake. Humanity had one chance. And they intended to use it. 3 months later, Earth's first interstellar fleet launched. The ships looked crude compared to Dominion vessels. Smaller. Less advanced. Less elegant. But they possessed something impossible to manufacture. Human determination. As the fleet entered hyperspace, billions watched live broadcasts. Families cried. Children waved. Entire cities gathered in public squares. Nobody knew if the mission would succeed. But everyone understood its importance. For the first time in history, humanity was taking the fight to the stars. Commander Vakon received the intelligence report hours later. He read it twice. Then a third time. Human ships had left Earth. Human ships were moving toward Dominion territory. Humans were attacking. The concept seemed absurd. Earth should have been defending itself. Hiding. Surviving. Instead, they were advancing. One officer spoke nervously. Commander, what are your orders? Vakon stared at the holographic map. The confidence that once defined him was gone. For the first time in his career, he didn't know what to do. Because every military doctrine he had ever studied depended on one assumption. That the enemy feared the Dominion. Humans didn't. And that made them unpredictable. Dangerous. Terrifying. As Earth's fleet crossed the stars, a secret message was transmitted from a distant Dominion world. Then another. And another. Entire planets were reaching out to humanity, offering intelligence, resources, support. The rebellion was spreading. The galaxy had found its symbol, its hope, its chance at freedom. And soon, Commander Vakon would discover something even worse. The humans weren't trying to defeat the Dominion. They were trying to erase it forever. The galaxy rises. The first human fleet emerged from hyperspace near the Dominion border. Silence filled every command deck. Before them stretched one of the most feared military regions in galactic history. For centuries, no enemy fleet had ever entered this territory and survived. Today, humanity was about to change that. Admiral Sarah Mitchell stood at the bridge window of Earth's flagship, Resolute. Her crew waited nervously. Most had never left the solar system before. Now they were preparing to challenge the most powerful empire in existence. Status report, she ordered. A young officer looked up. Multiple signals detected, Admiral. Sarah frowned. Dominion ships? The officer shook his head. No, ma'am. Confusion spread across the bridge. Then the sensors identified the approaching vessels. Thousands of ships. Different designs. Different technologies. Different species. The bridge fell silent. One communication request appeared. Then 20. Then hundreds. Sarah accepted the first transmission. An elderly alien appeared on the screen. His species had lived under Dominion rule for nearly 800 years. Tears filled his eyes. We've waited generations for this moment. Another transmission arrived. Then another. Then another. Entire worlds were joining the rebellion. The galaxy was rising. Humanity had become the spark. And now the fire was spreading everywhere. Within days, rebel fleets emerged across Dominion space. Supply routes vanished. Military outposts surrendered. Communication networks collapsed. Systems that once obeyed without question suddenly declared independence. The unstoppable empire was breaking apart. Commander Vakon watched the disaster unfold from his flagship. His hands trembled. Not from fear. From anger. Everything was falling apart. Thousands of years of conquest. Thousands of years of domination. Thousands of years of fear. All unraveling because of one species. Humans. He activated a secure communication channel to the Imperial Council. The faces of Dominion leaders appeared. They looked terrified. For the first time in history, nobody spoke about victory. They spoke about survival. Commander, one council member said, "Can you stop them?" The question echoed through the chamber. Can you stop them? Vakon wanted to say yes. But he couldn't. Because the truth was obvious. The war had changed. This was no longer Earth versus the Dominion. This was the entire galaxy versus the Dominion. And the numbers were becoming impossible. Then came the intelligence report that changed everything. A Dominion analyst rushed into the command center. His face was pale. We found the human objective. The room immediately fell silent. Vakon stood. What objective? The analyst swallowed. They are not targeting military worlds. The commander frowned. Then what are they targeting? The answer chilled everyone present. The core nexus. Silence. Absolute silence. The core nexus wasn't just important. It was essential. Hidden deep within Dominion territory, it served as the central coordination network connecting the empire. Military communications. fleet synchronization, economic systems, defense networks. Everything depended on it. Destroying the core nexus wouldn't defeat the Dominion. It would erase the Dominion. Varkon suddenly understood. Humans had studied the Empire, analyzed its weaknesses, identified its heart, and now they were heading straight for it. The most dangerous part. It was exactly what humans would do. Throughout their history, humans rarely fought fair. They fought smart. They targeted weaknesses, adapted strategies, changed tactics constantly. The Dominion spent centuries becoming stronger. Humans spent centuries becoming better problem solvers. And now those problem solvers had found the biggest problem in the galaxy. The Imperial Council issued emergency orders. Every available fleet was recalled. Every reserve activated. Every defense platform armed. The final battle was coming. Meanwhile, humanity's fleet continued advancing. As they traveled deeper into Dominion territory, the more allies joined them. Former slaves, oppressed colonies, independent worlds, refugees, veterans of forgotten wars. Millions united behind a single goal: freedom. For the first time, species that once hated each other fought side by side. Not because they trusted one another. Because they trusted humanity. The species that refused to surrender. The species that challenged the impossible. The species that proved giants could bleed. As the massive Allied fleet approached the core nexus, Admiral Sarah Mitchell received a transmission from Earth. Billions were watching. Billions were hoping. Billions were counting on them. She stared at the message for a long moment. Then smiled. Let's finish this. Far ahead, hidden among thousands of defensive stations, the core nexus waited. Protected by the largest military force ever assembled. The final battle for the galaxy was about to begin. And before it ended, the Dominion's perfect record of 164 victories would become meaningless. Because soon, there would be no Dominion left to count them. Not even wreckage remained. The battle of the core nexus began with silence. Then the galaxy exploded. Thousands of warships collided across the darkness of space. Energy beams illuminated entire star systems. Missiles streaked like rivers of fire. Explosions flashed brighter than suns. It was the largest battle in recorded history. On one side stood the Zovak's Dominion. Everything they had left. Every reserve fleet. Every elite commander. Every weapon they had spent thousands of years creating. On the other side stood humanity and its allies. Not the strongest force. Not the most advanced. But the most determined. Because they weren't fighting for conquest. They were fighting for freedom. And that made all the difference. Admiral Sarah Mitchell watched the battlefield from the bridge of the Resolute. Reports flooded in every second. Enemy formation advancing. Rebel fleet holding position. Defense stations engaging. The battle stretched across millions of kilometers. Yet despite their losses, the Allied fleets kept moving forward. Closer. Closer. Closer to the core nexus. Deep inside the Dominion Command Center, Commander Varkon stared at the tactical display. For the first time in his life, he looked exhausted. His empire was dying. His fleets were collapsing. His soldiers were losing faith. Still, he refused to surrender. Launch everything. Officers hesitated. Commander. Everything. Moments later, the Dominion unleashed its final weapon. The Void Lance. A colossal energy system capable of destroying entire fleets. For centuries, its existence remained secret. Only the highest leaders knew about it. Now desperation forced its use. The weapon fired. A beam of blinding light crossed space. Entire rebel formations vanished instantly. Ships disappeared. Hundreds at a time. The battlefield froze. Shock spread through Allied forces. Even Admiral Mitchell felt her heart sink. The weapon was devastating. For a brief moment, it seemed the Dominion might still win. Then humanity adapted. Again. Professor Alena Carter, monitoring the battle from Earth, noticed something unusual in the weapon's energy signature. A weakness. A flaw. The same mistake that had doomed the Dominion from the beginning. Overconfidence. The Void Lance required enormous synchronization between thousands of systems. Exactly the type of network humans specialized in disrupting. Alena immediately transmitted new instructions. Every Allied ship received the update. Within minutes, the fleets changed tactics. They stopped targeting enemy vessels. Instead, they targeted relay nodes powering the weapon. One by one, the nodes failed. The beam flickered. Stuttered. Collapsed. The Void Lance died. And with it died the Dominion's last hope. Panic spread through enemy ranks. Ships began retreating. Command structures broke apart. Entire formations surrendered. The impossible was happening. The undefeated empire was losing. Then Admiral Mitchell gave the order. Execute final protocol. A small strike force accelerated toward the core nexus. At its center was a device created through combined human and alien technology. Not a superweapon. Not a bomb. Something far more dangerous. A network collapse system. Months earlier, humanity had discovered the Dominion's greatest weakness. Everything depended on centralization. Every fleet. Every economy. Every military command. Everything connected to the nexus. Destroy the connection. And the empire would cease to exist. The strike team reached the nexus. Heavy defenses surrounded it. But the defenders were exhausted. Demoralized. Broken. Within minutes, the device was deployed. Commander Vakon watched helplessly as alarms erupted throughout the command center. Red warnings filled every screen. Systems failed. Communications vanished. Navigation collapsed. Defense grids shut down. The core nexus was dying. No. Vakon whispered. For the first time, fear entered his voice. Not fear of death. Fear of irrelevance. Thousands of years of conquest. Gone. Thousands of years of domination. Gone. Thousands of years of victories. Meaningless. Then the core nexus collapsed completely. The result was instantaneous. Across the galaxy, the Dominion infrastructure failed. Shipyards shut down. Military networks vanished. Central databases disappeared. Fleet coordination ended. The empire simply stopped existing. And then came the final shock. The nexus contained vast amounts of unstable energy. Without its control systems, the chain reaction began. The structure started tearing itself apart. Admiral Mitchell ordered all Allied forces to retreat. Moments later, the core nexus exploded. A brilliant wave of light expanded across space. The gigantic station. The surrounding defenses. The Dominion command fleet. Everything vanished. When sensors finally cleared, observers stared in disbelief. Nothing remained. No debris. No wreckage. No monuments. No symbols of power. Just empty space. The heart of the Dominion had been erased. After 164 victories, the empire that believed itself eternal disappeared in a single day. Commander Vakon was never found. Neither was his flagship. History itself seemed to swallow them whole. Years later, the children across the liberated galaxy studied the story. They learned how the mightiest empire ever created fell. Not because humanity possessed superior technology, Not because humanity was stronger, but because humans never accepted impossible. When others saw an invincible empire, humans saw a problem to solve. When others surrendered, humans adapted. When others feared defeat, humans kept fighting. And that became the lesson remembered across the stars. The Zovak's Dominion won 164 victories. Humanity only needed one. One battle. One chance. One impossible dream. And when it was over, not even wreckage remained.